Once again, it's on. You know what time it is. It's time to play some toss. Welcome, everyone, to episode 91. That's right, 91. Quickly approaching episode 100. But episode 91 of the Tristain Sports Show Toss. Yes, it is your man, the friendly neighborhood T-Squared, Tristan Thomas. Thank you all so very much for joining us this week. What do we have on tap? We got to talk about the NBA champion, Milwaukee Bucks. Basking in the glow of a championship is okay, but we have to get back to the reality of things, and that's defending your championship. We quickly touch in on the Milwaukee Brewers, what's going on with them, and a bigger issue that is also going on with them. And then we have to bring it home with the Green Bay Packers and talk about everything that has transpired in the offseason and in training camp as far as the relationship between Rodgers and the front office goes. We'll run it down. We'll give it all to you. But you all know how we get things started here on Toss. We get things started with the state of the state. Before we do that, just want to know, how are y'all? How are y'all doing? We took the week off last week. We had to bask in the glow of a Bucks NBA championship, really absorb that. It's a long season. There was a lot of coverage provided to you all by Toss Nation Media. Of course, at tossnationmedia.com. Took some time to be with family and enjoy the outdoors a little bit and recharge a little bit. So hopefully you all are staying safe. You all are taking that time to bask in the glory of a championship or bask in the glory of what is summertime, and you're being safe about it. And we'll definitely talk about safety a little bit later in the show. But now let's get back to the sports thing. Let's get back to what we do best here on Toss, and that's give you truthful, opinionated, and passionate sports talk. And we start that off with the Milwaukee Bucks. Again, the NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. That will never get old. That will never get old. It's still unbelievable to this point. I talked with some people in my time off and enjoying the outdoors and obviously socially distanced and masked and all that. Talk about a Bucks championship, and 50-year drought has been ended. The thirst for a championship has been quenched, but you're starting to get thirsty for another one. So never be content with just one. Try to get another. Everyone just is in a great mood about this, and rightfully so, right? You're the king of the mountain. Your team is the king of the mountain. One of the best basketball players in the world, in many people's eyes, is now cemented as such because he has a championship. A couple of the more underrated players in the entire league finally getting their due. And they also have a shot at a gold medal. You hope they come through with that. And then I feel some people feel kind of guilty about it. Man, we're a week removed or a couple weeks removed. Should we stop talking about it? Are we a little bit too much? I mean, when do we start talking about it? Never. At least not until, I say, at least not until the next season starts. But until then, bask in the glory of a championship. Be proud. Show that pride in the Milwaukee Bucks, the world champion Milwaukee Bucks. It's okay. It's been 50 years since that fan base, since the city, since the state has been able to celebrate an NBA championship. You have every right in the book to gloat. You have every right in the book to trash talk. You have every right in the book to walk around with a smile on your face. And honestly, you don't even need a championship to walk around with a smile on your face. You could just wake up and be grateful and put a smile on your face, and your day would be great. But it's okay to bask in the glory of a championship. Because although you may not be on the court, although you may not be in those practices and film sessions and in the workout rooms, building your body and expending all of your energy on the court and made it happen on the court, You're there supporting, and those athletes draw from that. They draw from that support, that energy. So you have a part in it. And it's okay to bask in it. It's okay to enjoy it. It's okay to celebrate it. The championship is not going to be squandered. They've won it already. I know Wisconsin sports fans and sports personalities like myself always have that little bit of PTSD from getting so close and then just having something happen and it squanders. You just squandered the opportunity. It's what Wisconsin sports is. You have great teams, but they're just not great enough to get over the hump. Well, that wasn't the Milwaukee Bucks this season. They got over that hump. Now, while you enjoyed that, you also have to realize there is a reality that comes along with it. You still have to court a team to try and defend said NBA championship. Now, if you're like me, you had coaches growing up, if you won a championship one year, you come back the next year, they'll flat out tell you, hey, you were champions last year. This is a new season. You're not defending anything until you get back to the finals. You're not defending anything until you get back to the championship round. You won it. You enjoyed it. Let's move forward and try to get another one. So I can understand that mindset. And I understand why the front office is already hard at work on a title defense. One of the hardest parts of winning a championship is trying to keep that core and try to keep that team together. Because chemistry is not something that can be faked. And chemistry is sometimes very hard to find. And when you find it, you want to keep it together. But some of the pieces that the Bucks had on this team, that John Horst put on this team, you kind of figure weren't going to be there the following season. We had our questions about Bobby Portis, Bryn Forbes, PJ Tucker. Very important pieces to this team in the regular season and in postseason. Bryn Forbes, not so much. He had a really good first round, and then he really lost his touch after that. But in the regular season, he was one of the top three-point shooters in the NBA. So he played a part in it, a big part. Now you're starting to see that kind of come to fruition. We all figured that Bryn Forbes would probably decline his player option and go elsewhere. It just had the feel of that, especially when he was pretty much banished to the shadow realm because he just couldn't hit the rim. Forget making the shot. He couldn't even hit rim. Budenholzer stuffed him deep on the bench. Bryn Forbes goes back to the Spurs. Back to Greg Popovich, back to a system that he feels he can thrive in. Now he's an NBA champion. He can get a little bit more money. And that's what he did. So he went back to the Spurs. The big two that you felt that you could possibly keep both of them, but you thought for sure at least one of them was gone, Bobby Portis and PJ Tucker. Now, Bobby Portis, again, when you win a world championship, you have an option. You could decline that option. You pretty much write your own story at this point. You're going to get a larger payday. You were a key piece to a championship team. I won't quite say it's a blank check. You're not going to go out there and get Steph Curry money. You're not going to get another $200 million contract. That's not going to happen. You're not going to get another a Trae Young contract, over almost $200 million again. John Collins over $100 million. I mean, you're not going to get one of those. But for a key player off the bench, providing rebounding, providing scoring, three-point shooting, toughness, physicality, Teams need that. Teams want that. Bobby Portis had every opportunity to go elsewhere and sign for more money. And honestly, I would have understood it. You helped the Bucks win an NBA championship. The league notices that. They notice the work you put in, especially in the finals. You are now a championship player with a championship pedigree. You understand what it takes to win. You bring a certain amount of toughness and physicality that we like. You're stretch big, which we like. We're in some cases, they're even going to overpay for players like that. He had the opportunity to go elsewhere and make more money, but he decided to come back essentially on a 1-on-1 deal, 1 year guarantee, 1 year option, for far less money than he had been offered. To get a guy of this caliber for $9 million, 2 years. Again, it's really a 1-on-1 because he is guaranteed 1 year. He has an option a second year, so he could do the same exact thing next season. But to do that because the city and the state and the fan base have embraced him and showed him that he's wanted and he's appreciated and he's loved. And him embrace them back in the same way. It's like he said, let's run this shit back. So Bobby Portis is back in tow. You have a key reserve there. Coming back. Key piece to the championship win. Nobody expected Bobby Portis to be back with Milwaukee. They thought for sure. It's a sure thing. He's going to get offered more money. He even spoke about it like, hey, I'm not going to be an athlete for, all my life. I want to create some generational wealth for my family. I have to weigh those options. And again, honestly, everybody understood, hey, you did the damn thing in Milwaukee. You helped win the championship. You were a key piece to that. We understand it if you want to go and cash in on that ring. Completely understand it. We would hate to lose you, but we completely understand it. But instead, he's like, nah, you know what? This is a place that appreciates me the way that I play. And I want to play hard for them because they go hard for me. It's really quite amazing to see how Milwaukee and how the state of Wisconsin and how the Milwaukee Bucks fan base has embraced Bobby and how he's embraced them. So nobody thought he was coming back. They're like, for sure he's gone. So once he came back, you're like, okay. We had more confidence in P.J. Tucker being back. You could get both of those guys back. Whew, man, that's big. That's huge. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. Something happened behind the scenes that turned the positive talks between P.J. Tucker and the Bucks from great to sour. I'm still trying to figure out what that is. I'm having conversations with folks, and nobody really knows what happens. Nobody really knows what happened. PJ Tucker came out with that post on his Instagram. How he was kind of in shock and shook, and how the talks turned, and now he's signed with Miami for 2 years, $15 million. And, I said it on Twitter and Facebook. That's at the 20 double on Twitter, facebook.com/T on Sports Show, that he must have wanted that warm weather. He's nearly in his upper 30s, and, he's got drop top Ferraris, and, he wants that warm weather. He's that warm weather life. But it sounded like he wanted to be back in Milwaukee. It just sounds like Milwaukee maybe didn't want to bring him back for that price and his age. Still trying to figure out what happened there. Just don't understand what happened there. So now PJ Tucker is gone, and you have a part of the fan base that's like, okay, look, his age, yeah, he was a key part of the defensive scheme against Kevin Durant, which Durant is just so unstoppable, but he made Durant earn every single one of those points. And in the end, it tired him out. So, yeah, he was a key piece, a key cog. But you look at his age, and, is the next season where he starts to fall off? We don't know. It's a gamble. Do you really want to take that gamble? Then you have others who are just absolutely pissed off at the front office for lowballing him or not even really knowing the situation, not even knowing what actually happened and how the talks turned and how it ended up with him going to Miami as opposed to staying in Milwaukee. It's really quite bizarre how things could just change. And now he's gone. So now you got to start filling out your team, and you got to start filling out your team with some productive players. Now, I'm on the record of saying I believe that Jordan Moore is going to be a bigger part of the rotation next season. You've seen what he did with his time with the Bucks. Whenever he was given an opportunity, he went out there, he produced. You saw what he did with Nigeria's national team in the Olympics. He was going off. The kid can shoot. I think the reason why he hasn't been on the court more for Mike Budenholzer is his defense. He really needs to play a bit more defense. Now, with Forbes being gone, perhaps he could fill that Forbes role, be that three-point sniper. I think he's a little bit more athletic than Bryn Forbes was, but he has to get a little bit more sound defensively. And he's young. He could do that. But you got to fill out your team. You have to believe that Dante DiVincenzo is going to come back. He's going to slide into that starting spot. And you're essentially going to have your normal starting five back. It's going to be Giannis. It's going to be Drew. It's going to be Chris. It's going to be Brooks. It's going to be Dante. If he's fully healthy. They might bring him all a little bit slowly. But then you got to look at that bench. Forbes is gone. PJ Tucker is gone. Bobby is back. Pat Connaughton, obviously, you had locked him up already. He's back. But who plays after them? Well, the Bucks began to sign folks. We already mentioned Bobby Portis re-signing to fill out that bench and play key roles. One of the eyebrow raisers was Semi Ojeleye, formerly of the Celtics, a guy who could defend, a guy who can hit a three. He could be that 3-and-D guy. Maybe they're looking at him to replace PJ Tucker. Maybe they're looking at him as a far younger version of PJ Tucker. I believe by a full decade. I believe Ojeleye is 26. I think Tucker's like 36. So you're talking a full decade. And if he could be as good defensively as PJ Tucker and hit a three-point shot, much like PJ Tucker did, at the most opportune times, then that's okay. That's a good signing. 1-year deal. They brought back, or will bring back after he clears waivers, George Hill, another eyebrow raiser. Everyone was pretty shocked when he was dealt from Milwaukee. And his comments after he left Milwaukee. Seems like they've mended fences and he's back. People forget, at the time he was traded, he was the leading three-point shooter in the NBA that season. Good defender. You got good backup for Drew Holiday. especially with Teague leaving. Not that he made much of a really big, huge difference. I mean, he had spots at times where he was an asset, but far more times in that playoff run, he just had a series of negative plays to where Budenholzer just buried him on the bench, and rightfully so. It just did not work. So George Hill is back. And another name that I just kind of came out of left field that I wasn't even thinking about him even pondering coming to Milwaukee. Rodney Hood, formerly of Toronto. Once he clears waivers, he's planning on signing a one-year deal with Milwaukee. You talk about a guy who can shoot, that is instant offense off the bench. More shooting on this team, which has good shooting and has learned how to win without three-point shooting. Because let's be clear, this playoff run, we talk about past years where the team forgot how to shoot from three and make a three. This playoff run was even more excruciating than the previous 2 years. But obviously the end result was better. They're NBA champions. So they found a way and found out how to win without shooting from distance particularly well. But you add more shooting in Rodney Hood, a guy, if he's healthy, his athleticism, his shooting, that is a huge asset off the bench. But you have to hope he's healthy and he stays healthy. If he is, that is a steal. So yes, it's okay to bask in the glory of a championship, but remember, there's a reality you have to come back to. And that's a reality that John Horst and that front office is already looking at and already working on with NBA free agency. Again, continue to bask in the glory of that championship, but keep your eye on what is going on and the work that's going on keeping this a championship team and keeping this championship window open for who knows how many years, 2-3 years. It's going to be very competitive, especially if everyone's healthy. This upcoming season, it's going to be very exciting. But the thing is, the entire league will continue to be looking up at the Milwaukee Bucks, your NBA champions. Continuing here on State of the State on Toss is an all State of the State episode. We have a lot to talk about as far as sports go in the state of Wisconsin. Brief couple of notes about the Milwaukee Brewers. They're still playing incredibly well. They dropped a game last night in brutal fashion. Adrian Hauser, 6 1/3 of no-hit ball. Council takes him out. They had a 5-0 lead, or I believe it was 4-0 or 5-0 lead at that point, and ended up losing that game 8-5 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. The last place Pittsburgh Pirates at that. Come back with a nice bounce-back win this afternoon as we record this program on a Wednesday. Find themselves at 65-44, still in first place of the NL Central over Cincinnati. To this point, that's probably really going to be their only competition. You know, like I said, Pittsburgh is way under 500. I believe 25 games under 500. The Cubs had a fire sale. Everybody's gone from there. Baez, Rizzo, Bryant, all of them are gone. Cardinals haven't really been healthy, haven't really been producing. Cincinnati's been up and down. Milwaukee's been that one constant in that division. They continue to be so. But I mentioned earlier in the program that there's a bigger issue going on with them. And that bigger issue is COVID-19. There are currently 7 players on the IL with COVID or because they came in close contact. 7. That includes Christian Yelich. And he's having a rough year at the plate, rough year in the field, rough year health-wise. Now, this team, for the most part, all of them were, not all of them, they're not at a complete 100%, but most of them did receive the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And it's some of those rare cases of breakthrough cases. I just want to encourage everybody to be safe, to mask up, Go get vaccinated. This thing continues to mutate, and new, more potent, more deadly, more transmissible strains are being created because of it. Please actually give a damn about each other. Wear a mask, distance, get vaccinated. It's free. Why would you spend $500 to $1,000 on a fake vaccination card only to get caught? Go and ask this couple that went and flew to Toronto and ended up getting fined $16,000 a piece because they have fake vaccination cards. You're paying $16,000 when you could have went and got a shot for free. That will protect yourself from certain death and protect others. This isn't just about you. It is about us. It is about everyone. Stop being selfish. Actually give a damn about each other. Go get vaccinated. Wear a mask. Distance. Wash your hands. It's some of the easiest stuff to do to help each other stay alive. Continuing here on Toss State of the State, we got to get into the main event. We got to talk about the Green Bay Packers. Everybody's been waiting for this bit of drama to come through. Everybody's been waiting for this bit of drama to come to a head. Training camp. Will Aaron Rodgers show up? Now, you know I'm on the record on this program as saying that not only do I believe that Aaron Rodgers will show up, not only do I believe that Aaron Rodgers will play for the Green Bay Packers in 2021 and will not retire, I also said that he probably wouldn't show up on time. I said maybe a couple of days to a week later, just to prove a point. That was the only thing I was wrong on, is the time that he showed up. But I wasn't wrong about the fact that he was going to show up. I wasn't wrong about the fact that there was no trade happening. I was not wrong about the fact that he was going to play football for the Green Bay Packers in 2021 and beyond. Regardless of reports out there that claim that they knew what was going on, I told you all, from the people I spoke to, that they're really keeping things behind closed doors. But the feeling is he was going to absolutely play for the Green Bay Packers in 2021. He was not going to retire, even though there may have been some thoughts about that. And despite what some other news outlets out there tried to say, that this relationship was, in fact, mendable, those are all things that we reported to you here on Toss. This is why we take the stance, and it is in our DNA. Truthful, opinionated, passionate. The first one being truthful. If I didn't have an answer, I'm going to tell you that. The weeks after I reported all that and I said, hey, there's nothing new to report, that things are what they are and there's not a whole lot of information coming out. And to have number 12 in that press conference, first day of training camp, confirm as much, that he kept things behind closed doors because he didn't want it all out and open. I'm not here to pat myself on the back and toot my own horn. I'll just say I tried to tell y'all. I tried to tell y'all. And some people listened and some people didn't because they like the drama. Some people like to just cause the drama and for those clicks and all that attention. That's what the business has become, about clicks and attention. That's not how we do things here at Toss and Toss Nation Media. We will tell the truth. We will draw from the truth. We will be opinionated about that truth. And we will always be passionate about our stance. Now, he said a lot. He had about a 31-minute press conference and was brutally honest. And I appreciate the honesty that Aaron Rodgers showed. I went back and watched that press conference multiple times just to kind of read into what he was saying, really let it soak and absorb. But I did say he was going to play football for the Green Bay Packers. There will be some concessions, because that's what you do when you're trying to mend a relationship and build it better. But at the same time, you need some assurances to make your own decision, and that's exactly what the Green Bay Packers gave Aaron Rodgers. They reworked his contract. They reworked his contract to give him some concessions that allows him to, hey, look, make the best decision for yourself. We hope you want to be the Green Bay Packers quarterback for the rest of the time you're playing in the National Football League. But if you really feel that way and you feel like the relationship isn't getting any better, and we're each not doing our part, then you can have the exit. So here's the particulars on his contract. So he's on a contract for this season. He's on a contract for 2022. Remember, I said he's going to play for the Packers in 2021 and 2021 and beyond. The 2023 year in his contract, which was the last one on his current deal. Remember, he signed that extension that was really about 4 years and over $100 million, tied into his other contract that had 2 years remaining on it. That final year of his contract was voided. He cannot be franchise tagged in the future, because we know how some organizations like to use that franchise tag to keep the player under control on the team and not have to pay them their fair market value. Even though the franchise tag is supposed to be fair market value, they could go on the free agency market and get way more. Sometimes it's used as a dirty tactic. Sometimes it's used as a tactic to get that player paid until they can work on a contract. But he can't be tagged in the future. And the 2023 year is now voided. They've all agreed to review the situation at the end of the season to see what's best. Hey, is the relationship better? Excuse me. Is the relationship better? Is it building back better? Is your play still MVP caliber? Or is it time that we move over to Jordan Love? They'll talk about that at the end of the season. His contract was adjusted. There's no loss of income. They've also put some checks and balances in place to kind of allow a space to address issues with the team that Rodgers may have. Mainly communication and treatment of veteran players and good young players. And he ran those players' name down, and I'm sitting there like, wow, he's saying exactly what I had been thinking at the time that these things went down. He talked about the Casey Haywards, the Micah Hydes, guys who have gone on to be Pro Bowlers. He ran down guys like that were really good and developed really well and could be impact players on this team and made this defense be a really good one, as opposed to trying to piecemeal different units together each year because you don't want to pay anyone. Packers agreed to review the situation after the season, as we mentioned before. And the dichotomy of it really, and the way it was explained to me, was it will give room to the Packers. Because remember, the 2023 year is the year that was voided. He's still on a contract for 2022. Because like I said, he's going to play in 2021 and beyond. But I also said that 2022 could be a whole different situation, especially if things don't get better with that relationship between Rodgers and the front office. It allows the team to be able to trade Rodgers if he feels that the culture of the Packers and the decision-making and his desire to be involved in some of that decision-making are not improving, are not being met, and they just need to mutually agree to part ways. All that framework is in place. Now it's on paper. They gave him another concession. You know, he talked about wanting to have more say over personnel, you know, because he's damn good at his job, essentially. I'm paraphrasing. He should be looked at as an asset. He works out with a lot of guys, trains with a lot of guys. He could be a key recruiter. I believe one quote he said is that Green Bay is not a big destination. Or, excuse me, Green Bay is not a big vacation destination. Players are coming there to play with him and to play with that team. And he's absolutely correct. So why not have a future first ballot Hall of Famer, a guy who's won the Super Bowl, a guy who's won 3 MVPs, is the current reigning, defending, undisputed National Football League MVP currently, be your number one recruiter and actually listen to him and actually look into these players and actually trying to find a way to sign them? Because if he feels that strongly about a player, there's got to be something there. You talk about a guy who has done this, who has played at the position in the National Football League, quarterback, at the highest level and continues to do so. The face of your franchise being your number one recruiter and wanting to do so and wanting to be that, you have to take advantage of that. Rodgers is an introspective enough guy to understand that you just don't go and get players just to get them. If he feels strongly about them and strongly about what they could bring to the table, you have to listen to him. You've got to have that conversation with him and actually take something from it and actually do your due diligence on whatever guy he's talking about. Now, as I mentioned, the Packers did give him one more concession. They went and traded a 6th-round pick in 2022 for Randall Cobb. Now, you know how close Randall Cobb and Aaron Rodgers are. You go back a few years ago, you see that heartbreaking picture of them hugging each other, embracing, understanding this was going to be their final regular season game together. Because they knew how the front office was. They knew they were going to let Randall Cobb go. He was a guy who was a little bit more off-injured in his last couple of years with the Packers. Still could produce when healthy. Was still a relatively young guy. He was still in his 20s at that point, late 20s. But they knew how the front office was. They knew they were going to let him walk. And that's exactly what they did. Now they're bringing him back because it's a Rodgers safety valve. He feels comfortable with Randall Cobb. And Randall Cobb's going to pass on that knowledge to Amari Rodgers, the kid they just drafted, who's going to be a big-time player, I think, especially in that slot role. His quickness, his hands. It's going to be an offensive weapon. He's going to be able to mix it up in the run game, but we'll talk more about that in the weeks to come. Some of the quotables from his press conference were really, really notable. He's talking about Matt LaFleur, and he answered in this, and I say, quote, and this is from Aaron Rodgers in his press conference during training camp. I talked to Matt after he was hired as coach. I wasn't part of the hiring conversation. That's what he meant. I was a part of the conversation, but it's a hiring conversation. Let's make that clear. I do love Matt, and I'm glad he's here. But the organization looks at me like I'm just a player. In my opinion, it should tie myself to more input. That goes to exactly what we were talking about. He understands that he's not a victim. And he says, quote, and this is Aaron Rodgers, I'm not a victim here. It's a business. It's an incredible opportunity to play this game, but it's a tough business too. I totally get that. And that is not lost on me. That's why I'm going to play this season and see what happens. Hence the reason for all the concessions, to where they could sit down at the end of the season and assess the situation. Has our communication improved? Are you really treating me like the superstar that I am and allowing me input on important matters that affect my job, which is something that he said. When talking about retirement, he said, quote, yeah, it was definitely something that I thought about, end quote. And I think that was more from a standpoint of, I'm kind of tired of the way things are going as far as the communication from the front office and with the front office, as far as how they're treating veteran players. Again, he ran down a whole list of players. That he felt were just really treated awfully on the way out the door. Weren't offered a contract, lowballed contracts. Just not treated in the correct manner. But I think that retirement thing was more so he's been working a lot on himself and his mental health. And one of the big things that you learn along that journey is that if it doesn't bring you happiness, if it doesn't bring you peace, then walk away from it. Remove yourself from that situation. And I think that was kind of him thinking introspectively in that regard. But the situation with the front office, Mark Murphy and Brian Gutekunst and, Russ Ball, all those guys up in the front office, it just weighed on him. It just made him not want to go back. But obviously he is. This goes back to what I have been saying for weeks here on Toss. What we've all spoken about. When you have a superstar player, when you have a player the caliber of an Aaron Rodgers, you have to treat him differently. You have to have a different relationship than you would any other players. You may not like it, but you need to accept it because that's what it is, because it's the superstar that puts the butts in seats. It's the superstars that allows you to sell all your concessions. It's the superstars that allows you to sell all your merchandise. Because they'll come out to see that player, win, lose, or draw. But if that player's not there and you suck, then you're in the red constantly. You're not selling merchandise. You're not selling concessions. You're not selling tickets. You're not putting butts in seats. You're not doing any of that. And it's very, very funny to me how the media was the driving force behind all of this, and Aaron Rodgers didn't say a word until training camp in that press conference. And he did exactly what I thought he was going to do. I said, hey, look, come out first day of training camp. Whenever you get there, address it, move on. Continue building on that relationship that you need to have with the front office. This team is on the cusp of a championship. On the cusp of a championship. And the only thing standing between it, or I say the two things standing between it, is communication and your treatment of players. Those aren't very big asks. I mean, they really aren't. Those are not big asks. So he addressed it. He's in training camp on time. Again, the only thing I got wrong in this entire situation, because we are truthful, opinionated, and passionate here. He addressed the media. He's moved on from it. He's in that playbook. He's building that chemistry with players. Getting back to playing Green Bay Packers football. Again, this is a team that is on the cusp of a championship. It's time to focus on that. Well, y'all, that'll do it for me. That was episode 91 of the Tristain Sports Show Toss. Y'all know where to find me on social media at the20double on Instagram and Twitter. That's at the number 2, the number 0, and the word double. Follow me there. Facebook.com/TOnSportsShow, your home for the Toss Facebook page. touch on a lot of things there that we don't necessarily get a chance to on the show. That's facebook.com/TON Sports Show. That's TON Sports Show. And of course, tossnationmedia.com. Your home for the Toss brand of sports. Truthful, opinionated, passionate sports. It's what you deserve. If you're following us or listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please go ahead and hit that plus button to follow us so you get all the episodes, no interruption, no funny stuff. Get that fresh heat straight from the kitchen each and every single week. But as I said before, it's time for me to get on up out of here. It's T-Squared, Tristain Thomas, reminding all of you to keep it moving forward. Always forward. Forward always. Until next week. So long from Toss.